Good morning, Algebra 1. Mrs. Latham here. I wanted to give a shout out to you all because you guys did awesome last week. Participation on online schooling was so high, and I'm so proud of you all. But as a reminder, some of you did not take the 5-question mini quizzes that I had posted. So I do believe you still have access to those. So I highly recommend taking those because, again, they are worth a 5-point quiz. Okay, so this week and next week, we will be looking at section 6.2, which is solving systems using the method substitution. So we are going to practice a little bit today. This week, there are no vocab words, so I hope you all are excited about that. And let's get started. So the first question we have is solve the system of linear equations using substitution. And we have y is equal to 6x plus 10 and y is equal to 7x plus 13. Using substitution, we are going to take the value of one of these. So in this case, I guess I'll take the 6x plus 10. I'll highlight that in blue. Okay, we're going to take this value and plug it in for what y is equal to in the other equation. So if you notice, both of them are equal to y. So I'm going to take this part and substitute it for here. So what would that look like? Well, if I'm typing, my y value is going to turn into 6x plus 10 is equal to 7x plus 13. And now you're probably thinking, Mrs. Latham, why are we doing this? Well, when we're using substitution, what we want to do is to solve for x and y. We're trying to figure out where is the point of intersection, if there is one. And so to be able to solve the equations, we have to only have one variable. So if you notice in these two, we have a y and an x, y and an x. Here, when I substitute in 6x plus 10 in for y, I'm left with only x's. So moving forward, we can combine like terms. So if you notice, I'm going to subtract 6x on both sides. I'm going to try to see if I can space it. Okay. So I no longer have 6x on the left. I'm just left with 10 is equal to 7x minus 6x gives us 1x, or simply x, and then plus 13. I can then subtract 13 on both sides. And when I do that, I get negative 3 is equal to my x. So I know what my x value is. Okay. And now what I need to do is solve for my y. So I'm actually going to move this over. And again, if you guys run out of space on your slides, you can just add another text box too. And now I have to solve for y. So to be able to do that, we're going to take our x value and we're going to plug that in. So we said that x is negative 3. So you can take either equation. I'm going to take the first equation and I'm going to plug in negative 3 for x. So I'm going to have y is equal to 6 times negative 3 plus 10. This is why we were checking last week to practice plugging in values. So if I simplify this, I'm going to get y is equal to 6 times negative 3 is negative 18 plus 10. And then negative 18 plus 10 is going to equal negative 8. So my x value is negative 3. I'll highlight that. And then my y value is negative 8. Oops. I wanted to highlight it and it didn't. So your final answer is going to be, and I will add another text box. Sorry guys, that's my dogs that you hear squeaking in the background. He decided to play while I'm recording. So final answer here is going to be written in coordinate points. So our x value we said was negative 3, our y value is negative 8. So that is our final answer. I'm going to make it bright red and large. You do not have to do this on your slides, but that's our final answer. Okay, so that's what we do when both y's are solved for. Let's try one more just to get in the practice, and then I'll do a different type of question. So again, I have two y's are solved for. I can plug in the first one to plug in for the second one, right? So I'm going to have negative 2x minus 2 is equal to 3x plus 8. For this one, I'm going to add 2x on both sides just because I want to get rid of that negative. And when I do that, I have negative 2 is equal to 5x plus 8. And then after that, I can subtract 8 on both sides. And when I finish solving, I get negative 10 is equal to 5x. And in this case, I do have to divide both sides by 5. There's really not a real nice way to write that. I'm going to put it like this. I'm going to put divide by 5, divide by 5. Looks a little messy, but there's not an easy way to kind of show that on here. And then negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2, which is equal to x. So that is our first answer. So we solved for x. Okay. So now, again, just like before, we can solve for y. I'm just going to copy and paste and then delete everything inside the text box. So for this one, I'm actually going to use the second equation now to solve for y, just to show you that it doesn't matter which equation you choose. So y is going to equal, we don't want this highlighted, 3 times negative 2 plus 8. So I plugged in negative 2 for x. Y is going to equal negative 6 plus 8. And then y simply equals 2. So then we can write this as a coordinate point. So I'm just going to take the coordinate point from above and just copy and paste it and just change the numbers. So my x value is negative 2 and my y value is positive 2. And that is our final answer. Okay. If you notice in these two questions, right, one of these is solved for y, but in this one, this is in standard form. So y is not solved for, but that should not matter. We can still substitute in 2x plus 7, but instead of it being on one side of the equal sign, it's going to be right next to this negative 2. And what happens is when it's next to a value like that, we have to write that as distribution. So I'm going to have my negative 5x minus 2, and then times, we're going to put it in parentheses, and then we're going to plug in what y equals. And y was equal to 2x plus 7. And then equals 22 comes over. So we just plugged this in for y. Now I have to go ahead and distribute. So just to give you guys an idea, I think I can insert. There we go. This is what I want, right? So we're going to distribute from here. And you do not have to show this. I'm just showing it. That way you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. To here. Okay? So that's the math I'm going to do next, because we're going to distribute. So negative 5x stays the same. Negative 2 times 2x gives us negative 4x. Negative 2 times 7 gives us negative 14, and it's equal to 22. We can combine like terms to get negative 9x minus 14 is equal to 22. I can add 14 onto both sides. I think that it does that. It like sometimes likes to write it like it's like a bullet, but it's not. So if I add 14 to both sides, I get negative 9x is equal to, and then that should give us 36. I am going to divide both sides by negative 9. And when we do that, we get x is equal to 4. There we go. I'm going to highlight that in green. So it is slightly different. Okay? So that is us solving for x. And it looks like it's not staying formatted as being in the middle. Let me fix this. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So let me shrink that over. I'll even move over this. And we are good to go. So we solved for x. Now I want to solve for y. Now I could use either equation to solve for y, but looking at what's given, the first one, which is the y is equal to 2x plus 7, that one's going to be easier to solve for. And the reason behind it is that y is solved for, right? If I plugged it into my purple equation that's in standard form, it's going to take me a little bit more effort to solve for it. So I am going to do y is equal to 2 times 4 plus 7. And when I do that, I get y is equal to 8 plus 7. So y is equal to 15. I wrote 14. So that is our answer for y. So again, I'm just going to take the red from above, copy and paste it, and then change my value. So x is 4, and then y is 15. That's our point of intersection. Okay, let's try one more. If you notice, now the first one's not solved for y. This is in standard form, okay? And then y is solved for the second one. So sometimes the first one's not solved for, totally fine, still the same method. And we're gonna plug in negative 8x minus 21 in for y next to the 2, okay? So I'm gonna automatically just shrink this text box, and I'm gonna even go as far as copying and pasting it. That way I don't have to redo it. So I'm going to have negative 2x plus 2, and then again we're going to distribute the negative 8x minus 21 is equal to negative 6. Okay, so just like before, we are going to distribute the 2 to my two values. So when I do that, my negative 2x comes down. 2 times negative 8x is negative 16x. 2 times negative 21 is negative 42, which is equal to negative 6. I can combine like terms. Negative 2 minus 16 is negative 18x. Minus 42 is equal to negative 6. I can add 41 on both sides, and when I do that, I get negative 18x. And then just really quickly, that's going to equal 35. Did I do my math wrong somewhere? Oh, I typed in 41. That's supposed to be a 42. See, even Mrs. Latham makes mistakes. So this gives us 36. I knew that wasn't going to work out right. And then we're going to divide both sides by negative 18. And then x should equal negative 2. And just like before, we are going to plug in x is equal to negative 2, but in this case, actually, I'll do it in the first one just to show you guys you can use the first one. But please note that the second equation's easier. So I could do negative 2 times negative 2 plus 2y is equal to negative 6. Negative 2 times negative 2 gives us 4, plus 2y is equal to negative 6. I can subtract 4 on both sides. And then 2y is equal to negative 10. Divide both sides by 2. And y is equal to negative 5. So that's our y value. Please note that, again, if you use the other equation, right? If I did y equals negative 8x minus 21, just to give you an idea, negative 8 times negative 2 gives us negative 16, or positive 16, sorry. Positive 16 minus 21 still gives us negative 5. So it does work. Copy, paste. So our x value is negative 2, and our y value is negative 5, and that is our answer. So the last thing I want to show you is what happens if we have two equations and y is not solved for. So what's really important is I want you guys to first notice is that we do still have an equation that is solved for. It's just not solved for y. And that equation is the first one. Notice it's solved for x. So very similar method, not much is going to change. I'm going to plug in 2y minus 9, but instead of plugging it in where y is, I'm going to plug it in where x is. So I'm going to solve for y first. I'm going to have negative 6, and then my x value is 2y minus 9, and then everything else comes down. So my plus y is equal to negative 1. And again, pretty much same process with solving, hasn't really changed. So I'm going to distribute my negative 6. So negative 6 times 2y is negative 12y. Negative 6 times negative 9 is a positive 54. I don't like that my y is capitalized. And then I have plus y is equal to negative 1. So I have negative 12y plus y. That gives us negative 11y plus 54 is equal to negative 1. I am going to subtract 54 on both sides. And when I do that, I get negative 11y is equal to negative 55. Divide both sides by negative 11. And y is going to equal positive 5. So we were able to solve for y. And then same exact process as before, except now we're going to solve for x, and I'm going to use this top equation to do that. So x is going to equal 2 times my y value, which is 5, minus 9. And again, x, 2 times 5 is 10, minus 9. And then x should equal 1. There we go. That's our answer. So again, I'm just going to take this, steal it. Our x value, so remember these are going to be backwards slightly, is 1, and then our y value is 5. So our answer for that is 1, 5. So for homework this week, you do have your online learning slides for week 4. Very, very similar. If you need help with anything, please reach out. If possible, please show a majority of your work. I do not just want final answers. I want to see proof that you are doing them all out. Okay? That's due by 3 p.m. on Wednesday. So as a reminder, that assignments are now being due at 3 p.m. On Friday, again, same thing, due at 3 p.m. You do have Khan Academy. I assigned that earlier this morning. And then you do also have Algebra 1, Section 6.2, Practice A. It is 6 substitution questions. And just like the slides, please show some work. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. And I hope you guys have a great week.